So Board Member Calendar and moved and seconded by Board Member Mazgay. We'll have a roll call vote now for the approval of the minutes.
Okay. Board Member Calendar.
Approve.
Board Member Mazgay.
Approve.
Board Member Muniz. Board Member Shin.
Approve.
Board Member Wadsworth.
Approve.
And then Chairperson Hirahara.
Approve. So the minutes are approved as amended. Public hearing none, considerations none. First order of other business is a heritage tourism presentation.
Good afternoon. We're going to be doing our presentation from this podium. I believe that one's got some technical problems. So my name is Denise Estrada. I'm here today as a Regional Advisory Council meeting to the Salinas Valley Tourism and Visitor Bureau. Craig Kaufman is the executive director of that bureau. And we thank you for the opportunity to inform you about some of the site information that we have here at our Regional Heritage Center, as well as some programs and plans for the future. We are excited to form an active collaboration with you and a partnership. If you look at your mission and the Bureau's mission, they're very, very similar. So we are proud to be able to provide you some information today, and Craig has some slide presentations, so I'm going to turn it over to him right now.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Kaufman. I'm the Executive Director of the Salinas Valley Tourism and Visitors Bureau. Happy New Year. Today, I'd like to sort of give everybody sort of the 30,000-foot level look at what I've been up to for the last 16 years. It's called the Valleys of Anza. What it is, it's regional economic development by leveraging historical sites from inland valleys. And so the three valleys that we're going to be focusing on is really by county. It's a regional approach. San Juan Valley being in San Benito County, Salinas Valley, and San Antonio Valley also being in Monterey County. Let's see if we can get this. Okay, so one of the things that was a pleasant surprise for me, and this was just recently brought to my attention, was the fact that our mission statements, or our vision statement and your mission statement, are almost parallel. If I just to read this, the board or the HRB was tasked by council to protect Salinas architectural heritage assets for education, community revitalization, and the promotion of heritage tourism. I come today in the interest of heritage tourism. That's truly where I believe that from an economic development standpoint, that we have a lot of potential to draw the success that has occurred on the peninsula and bring it inland. Bring it inland only about 25 or 30 miles. We're not talking a great distance here. So I was very pleased to see this within your mission statement, and I thought immediately that this was a good venue for us to daylight a lot of things that we are working on. So I'll proceed and tell you a few things about that. First off, I really think that this postcard from 1906 really summarizes what I'm trying to accomplish here, and that is that really the tourism industry itself was founded on our historical past. This postcard reads, Monterey, California, tourist attention. See Monterey, why? For its historic landmarks in three nations. Those three nations being obviously Spain, Mexico, and the United States. And this was done back in 1906, so I'm not really reinventing anything, reinventing the wheel here. It's something that, again, the premise for our tourism industry was based on this in the very beginning. So the Anza Trail, what is it? It's an expedition, and first of all, let me preface this, it was a peaceful expedition. There wasn't one death along the way. In fact, there was 2 births along the way. The expedition from Spain, led by Juan Bautista de Anza, basically took a group of 240 men, women, and children, started off in Mexico, went through southern Arizona, up through Baja California, part of Baja, through Southern California, following basically the water routes, because with them they also were herding 1,000 head of cattle. So not only did they need to water themselves, but they also needed to water the animals as well. And of course, our Salinas River played prominently in achieving that goal. there's only 21 National Historic Trails in the entire United States. So we are really blessed with the assets of having 2 national park assets within our county, one being obviously Pinnacles National Park and the other being the Juan Bautista de Anza Trail. The trail, I'm a native Californian, and quite honestly, this trail sort of hit me on the backside of the head. I didn't realize that it is where it is and the importance of the trail. This expedition was responsible for the founding of San Francisco. So it's a beautiful city, an international city that's well known, and to be able to tell a peaceful story of working with not only the local tribes, 40 different tribes through this expedition, 10 in our immediate area, but they also kept very detailed journals of this expedition. There was 3 journals written by Pedro Font, Juan Bautista de Anza, and I believe one by Moraga. And so this really gives us a very detailed storyline of what they were doing almost each and every day. There was major campsites, one being over in San Antonio, being at the San Antonio Mission, another being over in Toro Park, and of course Carmel Mission. So there's a lot of touch points that I think will be interesting to be able to start to daylight this thing. And also, too, we're going to be coming up on our 250th anniversary of this particular trail. That will, in our area, will be in 2026. So we have an opportunity, a marketing opportunity to really daylight this. I mean, of course, in America, we'll be celebrating the sesquicentennial of our nation, but at the same time, too, this will also have been going on during that time. So the map that you see on the left, that is a map that's put out by the National Park Service, and it actually shows the trail that the expedition went on. It's sort of, depending on the width of the trail, it depends on sort of the space that they had to do the grazing and do the watering of the animals, but you can clearly see that it goes right through our area, it goes over into Carmel Mission, then doubles back over and goes directly right through Salinas. In fact, Main Street is considered part of that trail. So if you look at it where we are logistically, we're literally right on the trail itself right now. It's an international story. Obviously, as I mentioned before, it's the founding of San Francisco. And in a lot of ways, we have a unique opportunity to tell this story because we don't have a lot of overdevelopment or development in our area. A lot of our area is still in its natural landscape. So from an outsider looking in, they could pretty much see everything that the expedition was seeing almost 250 years ago today as well. And so I call ourselves sort of a time capsule. We don't really have a lot of overdevelopment. In fact, we have a lot of our natural, beautiful landscapes, an abundance of them, that people can take a look at through our area. Now, also to mention, too, that 5 of the 21 California missions are in our region. So we have a bulk of the missions that are in our immediate area within 50 to 100 square miles. So, this is a little bit more detailed. You can see that, that goes through River Road. Then, again, that sort of piece that goes through Salinas. And as I blow this up even further, you can see the connection of how we make that tourism connection that's happening on the peninsula. And you can see literally the trail of how they go right through the center of Salinas. One of the things that has been born out of this is our relationship with the National Park Service, and they have identified certain areas within our area as being important sites as far as what the expedition experienced. I would refer to, the Salinas expedition of campsite, I believe, number 91. It's a little out of focus for me right now. Let me put my glasses on. That makes it worse. But nonetheless, you can sort of see a summation, a little bit of the different campsites that the National Park Service has identified as being important pieces within the expedition itself. So we have the opportunity, again, with the diaries that have been created, to actually start to tell stories about what it was like in making this trail up to the founding of San Francisco. Just as a point of reference, again, sort of that backside, this thing hitting me on the backside of my head, was the fact that you start to recognize these markers that are currently there. I mean, these are things that I've just put up off Google Maps. So you've got there on Main Street, right next to the mayor's house, which would be on the left side of that photograph that's in the lower right corner, literally has been marked by the National Park Service as this trail. The other top picture being on John Street, and of course Highway 68, both in east and west bounds, are also marked with this signage. So taking this and leveraging the ability to create new overnight stays is really sort of my main task. Using the Anza Trail as the vehicle to develop two of these county parks, one being in San Benito County, the other being in Monterey County. The one in Monterey County being San Lorenzo Park in particular, which is literally on the trail itself as well. And it's my estimation or my opinion that this particular park by the county is woefully underutilized, and that we have the ability to re-examine and re-look at the park in a way that would use the Anza Trail as a way to bring people to this area. So when you start to think about creating new overnight stays, both one in San Benito County and the other being in Monterey County, you then begin to create this sort of double trapezoid with this intersection. Basically, what I'm trying to illustrate here is that you have about $4 billion, 4 billion with a B, of economic activity related to tourism that's happening on the coastline. If we can start to tell our story and tell the story of the Anza Trail, I believe that we could start to bring in inland tourism dollars to our area and create additional itineraries and overnight stays at these two parks. Of course, Pinnacles National Park is kind of a unique park from the standpoint that it sits in two counties. It has two separate entrances, each unique to each county, but don't meet in the middle. So in some ways, it's like two parks in one. So again, having the National Park Service assets between two counties, I think, allows us to explore this idea of creating new overnight stays and creating new transient occupancy tax as well. This idea has been picked up from the standpoint that these are some of the partners that I'm working with. The National Park Service, obviously, with Pinnacles and the Juan Bautista de Anza Trail. Trails and Rails, which is Amtrak and the National Park Service, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Currently, we've just been retained to work with the National Park Foundation. We'll be working on about 25 miles of the River Road area and focusing on the Juan Bautista de Anza Trail along with the indigenous or First Peoples of the area as well. And then, of course, is our Heritage Center and California Welcome Center, which I believe most of you have been to. And we're hoping that the rest of that space, too, can also be used to promote the Anza Trail. Visit California and Visit Native California. Visit Native California is a new program that they've just rolled out about a year and a half ago. And we're working with them, and of course, Berkeley. Berkeley's been a huge help with the projects that we're working on. We're working with them, and I'll share a little bit more about that. But I can't cover everything in this one presentation. There's a lot of moving parts, so if you'd like to learn more about what we're trying to do, please go to valleysofanza.org, and you can see more detailed information about some of the various things that we're working on. One of the things that I mentioned about Berkeley, it was back in January of 22, they had a studio, master's program of urban design come out, and the class did field work in the area, in the region, and the results of that field work is in this book called Designing the Valley. It's available at lulu.com. I'm hoping that it'll be available on Amazon. It's a bit expensive on Lulu, but as soon as it'll be available on Amazon, I'll make sure that the links are there so that that can be viewed and purchased. Another component of this, too, is Trail by Home. It was a white paper that we did with Berkeley in regards to creating the housing tourism nexus. My main passion for doing all this is that we live in a very rich state. We're supposedly the fourth largest economy in the world. We're the most populous state in the nation. In our county, We have two main industries, one of those being agribusiness and the other being agribusiness and the other one being hospitality. That's food and shelter in my mind. And I think as a whole and as a community, I think that food and shelter for everybody is a right, and that if there's ways that the private sector and the public sector can come together and work on this problem, I think it's to all of our benefit. And so this white paper really starts to lay out some of the new TOT ideas and how those things could be done to help in regards to our housing crisis that we find ourselves in. Trails and Rails. This was set up through Amtrak and the National Park Service, and it's really the ability to start from San Jose and go down the Sunset, or the coastline rather, and to have docents on the trains actually talking about the Anza Trail and educating people about that. There's a lot of opportunity here, not only from the standpoint that people would stop off in Salinas and go to the Heritage Center to learn about the Valleys of Anza, but they could create overnight stays, get back on the train, the next day. So there's a lot of interesting things, and having these two national park assets, national government agencies working together on the Anza Trail, I think is a step in the right direction, and I think we have the ability to leverage on that partnership. So this is, it's called Trails and Rails, the Anza Trail. There's about 20 other programs like this throughout the United States. So we're looking forward to getting that off the ground as well, and making that a reality for economic development here at the Transit Center or the ITC. And Old Town obviously would be a good beneficiary from a program like this as well. Our grouping is basically, obviously, all located at the ITC. We have the First Mayor's House, the Monterey Salinas Valley Railroad Group, FOSSBL, and of course, the Welcome Center. So we're sort of a nice package in the regards that people can get a really good sense of what the area has to offer from a heritage tourism standpoint. And we're excited about all the possibilities that we seem to be uncovering. At the center itself, I know most of you have been there, but for public consumption, I thought I'd just tell you about what the new California Welcome Center of Salinas looks like. We used to be over on Davis. We moved over into the building February of 2020, a month before COVID. So in a lot of regards, we're still brand new to a lot of people. A lot of people don't know that we're even in this building, which is located at One Station Place. And in it, you'll see a full-blown exhibit on postcards, passengers, and produce about really how Southern Pacific created the salad bowl of the world, and the fascinating and interesting facts that you can find about our local history in this building. So I thought I'd share with you a little minute and a half spot that Visit California had created. They were so happy with the way the Welcome Center turned out that they had filmed it and promoted it on their social media. And so I'd like to share that with you now.
Hi, I'm Craig Kaufman, Executive Director of the Salinas Valley Tourism and Visitors Bureau, and welcome to our new California Welcome Center here in Salinas. The state of California is only 171 years old, but yet we're the 5th largest economy in the world and the most populous state in the nation. This freight depot has a story to tell. In fact, if a picture paints 1,000 words, then we have a lot to talk about. The story found in here is not just about Salinas, but more of a regional approach of telling how all the different communities and towns work together to build the economy that is today. And it's not just for history buffs. There's a lot of interesting stories about even how Monterey Jack cheese came to be, or how the word iceberg lettuce came to be. This historic freight depot really does represent Visit California's tagline, California Dream Big. We have future plans to make this a full-blown heritage center. Currently, our space occupies 1/3 of the depot, and we plan on taking the other 2/3 and going back even further and talking about the rich history, even pre-California.
Well, we were almost to the end of that, so and got the technical gremlins here, so we'll just move on. Do you think?
As well. Thank you for visiting our California Welcome Center here in Salinas, where we do dream big.
Okay, so we'll move on from that. Yep. So the Valleys of Anza exhibits, we plan on, again, hopefully being able to take over the other 2/3 of the depot and to be able to tell that story in regards to the Valleys of Anza and also signage in regards to telling, describing all the properties that are on, found on this particular block. So I thank you for your time and welcome to take any questions if you have any. Okay, and I'll
Any questions from the board?
Has there been much progress in your being able to expand?
I have not heard any updates in regards to that. We've been trying to find some suitable space that the current tenants have to see if we can move the storage into a different storage unit. So we're in the progress of trying to explore those avenues right now.
I have a question. So you mentioned about the journals from the Anza expedition.
Yes.
So what was the source that you found those? Because I'm imagining since they're in the Spanish language, where did you actually get them? Did you get them from Spain? Did you get them from California?
The translations have been they've been translated to English, and so I don't physically have the journals in my possession. So, but the English is available online.
Oh, okay. Where would the journals be?
There's various. There's another 14thcolony.org. I believe has them as well. It's funny because they were referred to as sort of the 14th colony. I should give you an explanation of the title because obviously we're learning on the East Coast about the 13 colonies, and they sort of named this sort of the 14th colony just to sort of right on the tail, right on that name nomenclature. Okay, thank you.
If there are no more questions, I want to thank you for the opportunity we've had today to come and share this information with you. There's a lot of exciting things going on in the center of Salinas and the historic buildings there. And what we'd like to do is continue telling these stories to you to encourage collaboration. We feel like with the mutual missions and goals, we can work pretty well together to accomplish some of these things. So, and at your February meeting, we are asking if we can also be included on the agenda to kind of continue this discussion. The First Mayor's House would like to do a presentation on our educational programs, a little bit about the history, and bring some of the board members before you to answer any questions you had. Again, we're getting this information out to you, and through the broadcast means we're also sharing with the public. So we feel that our collaboration could do a lot to expand heritage tourism opportunities. And Salinas was built on the hard work of a lot of those who came before us to create this great community. We want to capitalize that, and so we thank you again today, and we ask that you join us in promoting and celebrating our heritage stories. So thank you again for this opportunity today.
Thank you, Craig. Denise? I guess any other comments from the board?
I'd like to see the presentation next month, too. This is really good information.
And I think I would ask staff to come back with a recommendation or some information about the opportunity for HRB to be, can we officially endorse this, and become a part of this project? So I'm not sure if there's any policy or restrictions, but, we would have that as an agenda item also in addition to the presentation.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes it's complicated to put your city logo or our logo, HRB logo on as an endorsement, but I think the general trend here is that they're very supportive of this concept. We want to be in step with, as a city agency, be in step with what city policy is also. Yes, Salvador.
What do you need from the city of Salinas? And also because there is a coming anniversary for the founding of the city of Salinas.
Well, obviously, we need your support. We're made up primarily of people who contribute their time and resources to all of the projects there and the historic projects. So any support, networking, that's really important as we grow. We are aware that there's resources and the community can help out. Obviously, for this project right now, we need space, and that conversation continues with the city, so we'll update you on that as we go along, and then we can let you know a little bit more specifically what you can do. We weren't actually looking for a formal endorsement, but what we like to do is open the door to the conversation so that we can continue to provide you information, not just you, but the community there. So that's really, really important to us. As far as the celebration ceremonies, Michael Mazgai and I were just speaking about that. There are some questions in the community about whether we're going to redo another Founders Day. At this point, I don't see a group coming forward to do that, but there are some discussions with the First Mayor's House about receptions, some other things. Nothing has been solidified yet. By February, when I come back to you, hopefully to have some more information on that. But I believe there was another group that came before the HRB previously that said they were going to be working on something, but I don't have any information about that group. We'll certainly keep you informed as to what we know.
I think at the last meeting, someone from the city was here. I've forgotten her name, but she mentioned they're planning on some sort of event
Yeah.
to be held, and I think she even threw out the date, April something.
April 6th.
April 6th. And so that's the only other thing I've heard of.
Right. Okay.
Any other comments about the 150th anniversary project?
I did bring the program for our 100th anniversary, and it's here, so if you'd like to look at it today, it's available for you to review it.
Thank you. Asian Cultural Experience has been contacted by the city and asking us to, create some Asian history information. So I responded asking about, what sort of program that they wanted. Was it content, written, or participation? Because April's a tough month for us, but they said that probably it'll be like a combination of small things, maybe some storyboards of our history projects and the ability to do, let's say a cultural preservation, like maybe Asian dance groups or something like that. So it's something sort of like Founders Day, but they certainly didn't have a definitive program set up just yet. Okay. The next item of business is 2024 goal setting.
Good afternoon. So this is based on our discussion and things that we've heard since we took over in October. So we just wanted to, these are items that I had identified, but want to get your feedback as to what HRB should be prioritizing in 2024. That helps direct staff time, that helps, and just get some guidance from you as to what you want to see, how can staff support that. So these are priorities I had identified: the survey, a permanent Mills Act program, increasing community awareness of HRB, training opportunities, establishing a plaque program, and then general plan implementation as that rolls out. And so this is just to get the discussion moving, and then I can take feedback, and then so we can come back for our meeting in December, we can check in and say, and show this is what we've accomplished for 2024.
What I like about these priorities is I kind of rate them the way they're listed.
Okay.
To me, the updated survey, which really should be expanded, is key. How can we proceed if we don't know our own family of buildings? If they're not identified, how do we take care of them? How do we share the information? How do we encourage owners to participate? So that's key to me. And then, of course, we're all in favor of the Mills Act. But I like the way these are listed, because to me, that's the correct priority.
Okay, that's good to know.
Also, what I think is missing there is red flagging the planning department, so all of the staff knows those that we already have identified, so we can, really take care of them accordingly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that I brought a mini kind of proposal for all the board members that kind of zooms in on bolstering the Mills Act program and also increased awareness for HRB. So I brought that for you for your perusal, just some ideas. I had an idea about an arts competition, which I think would be a good way for people to gain more information about the Mills Act and about the structures that are here in Salinas. So I sort of outlined that in my pages that I submitted to you.
Thank you.
And there's also I gave some historical information that I haven't seen with the HRB about Chinatown and about the Chinese. So I included that at the end of it.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? My comment would be that the updated survey, I think, is in the correct location, but I think in order to make it really happen, it's kind of sort of part of the general plan implementation. So I think they're linked more than separate. So that's my opinion about my feedback on that. And as far as training opportunities, if they're reasonable in length, I think actually this platform here could actually be used for training purposes whenever, let's say, we have a limited agenda of any kind. Maybe something that's available relatively easily, and then just add it to as an add-on, or something can be deferred if we don't have the time.
Are there specific topics that I should be?
Well, I think that we were sent out some webinar sorts of things, and some of those are kind of long, like they're 1 hour in length, and I've taken a few of those. And so, I think we're supposed to, as a group, have a certain amount of continuing education or updated time in, so maybe we can do it in small chunks if you can find that. But I would say that, architectural history, historic preservation, would be subjects that may be available. Okay. And many of these apparently are available webinar-wise, so they can be available at let's say at our convenience, hopefully.
And also heritage tourism, that would be something useful.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad to see the plaque program is still on there. Maybe we can, we've deferred that for a length of time, so it's something that, either we do it or let's take it off the agenda.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, with the updated survey, I know that we have the information about the 175 structures here in Salinas, but it isn't broken down into which districts they are in. Or it's not,
It's by street.
it's,
It could be clear as to which
it's not, yeah, it's
districts
sort
they're
of
in.
unclear
But
in terms of the districts that we have here in Salinas, and then they have 3 different districts according to historical resources. So those are sort of 2 conflicting different districts. And it could be clearer if it was, I don't know, broken down to which structures were in which district of the city and which historical district.
There's no
Probably
formal.
a map, Google
Yeah.
map overlay.
Yeah, there's no formal historic districts. That was just identified as part of the larger survey. They identified potential districts. So no formal districts have been, that was never enacted. There wasn't a formal historic district. So that was just identifying neighborhoods and areas that they fit into these potential historic districts if we wanted to pursue that. But there wasn't established historic districts.
I thought there were 3 of them, like the East End and the Maple Park and, I don't know, another one.
Steinbeck.
Steinbeck. Yeah, I thought there were 3.
I don't think they've ever been
but
formally.
they're not official.
Right, they're not official.
Oh, okay, okay.
But even so, it's a good point you're making, because the geography of where they're located, people don't group all these under Steinbeck, group all of these.
Yes.
It is geographical, isn't it?
Well, and then some are out of those 3 districts. It's just not those 3.
Right, other.
Yeah, other, yeah.
Yeah.
So what does the board think about the increased awareness of HRB? Does that mean that we reach out beyond, let's say, city council? Or is it I guess that's more of a question than a rhetorical question, not a.
I think that Eloise's arts program idea is a good way to not only do awareness of the Mills Act, but also awareness of HRB.
An outreach type of program?
Yeah.
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 Because I know that was, at the beginning, that was one of the subjects that was discussed. It said, well, if you want things to happen, maybe we have to go forward to the city council and make some requests also. So that's in addition to that level. I think the outreach we need to do community-wide, people really don't even know that we exist.
Right.
I think the planning department could help identify because I know you have in your system to identify any properties that could qualify as a historical, which means any buildings that were given a permit 50 years ago, at least 50 years, they could qualify. That could help into identify and give notices to the owners of those properties and see who could participate and to evaluate whether their property qualifies to be a historical,
I think that goes towards what we were talking about as far as flagging them at the building department, and what sort of notification is given to people who, apply for a permit and it gets flagged. Are they told, oh, it's a historical building, you have these resources or these restrictions? Is that something that takes place at that point in time, or does it take place when they make a request that goes beyond what's allowed?
I believe as soon as a permit comes in, it's flagged. So as process of part of the intake, it's flagged as a historic. So they would know as soon as they were submitting the permit, the building permit, that they're historic, and then they would have to, then it triggers the historic review.
And is there something that's handed to that homeowner or business owner telling them what they can and can't do?
Not that I'm aware of.
See,
So
the people-
Or other resources.
Yeah, or other resources. It'd be a good idea to have something
Yeah.
that was put together to notify them of what is available
Yeah.
and restrictions so that they would know right up front. And, maybe it's something, I don't know whether it's done verbally or conglomeration of information, like here's a pamphlet for this and that, but it would be a good idea to at least have bullet points to hand to somebody saying, these are things you should be aware of.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Well, a couple things. So are the existing properties in the 89 survey currently flagged with the
Yes.
planning department? So
Yes, yeah, I have a review I just received, so yeah, it
So
triggers.
that's been done? Okay,
yeah.
good. And then isn't one of the roles we're supposed to play is in guiding homeowners with their historic properties on, so maybe that's somehow, once we're qualified to do so, they come to us and we make suggestions or refer them to different websites or something? Because I think that was one of our job descriptions as HRB, wasn't it?
I'd have to look at the ordinance. Yeah, I think it's, the way it's been in the past is that it's based on so a permit comes in, and then it triggers that review based on the threshold in the ordinance, then it comes to HRB, and then the property owner would be working with HRB. So it's
there's-
once.
There seems to be a lot of work being done at the El Rey
Yeah.
Theater. I don't know how
Yeah.
extensive it is, but has anything been to the level where it should be brought before the HRB is what's proposed?
Right now, I know that there had been previous permits pulled, and that that had been reviewed beforehand. I know that there's another planning application coming, and with that, potentially they want to pursue a local designation. So that would come to HRB, and then that would, part of the planning application, as doing the local designation process, I would be coming here to give an overview of the project and the work that they would be doing. But they have mentioned, I know there's a planning application coming for that.
And then the Mills Act, since it sort of hasn't been reauthorized yet, that's not available to them, but hopefully when it is reauthorized, somebody will let them know that that's something they can apply for.
Absolutely, yeah, and they would be able to, it'd be easier process for them since they would already, if they had pursued the local designation first.
And following up kind of on the idea of building permit dispensing information to them, I would think part of our outreach and awareness might be to the real estate sales world when property are being sold. I think that'd be a great time for people to be aware of all this, and maybe even it could be, I don't know if it could be, but tax assessors, when things are sent out to people, that happens potentially annually, and they could be made aware that they have these opportunities. So there are two different times, when they sell it or when they get their tax bill. It might be a good one because they aren't always applying for a building permit, but those things happen possibly more frequently.
That's
we
true.
get outreach, and that way we might be more effective.
Sure.
And the Mills Act would only be within the city of Salinas. So,
Yeah, so the taxes would,
property
tax
tax
bill
or
would have to
county-
be, I don't
county
know if they're
issue.
capable.
Some collaboration there, but.
Yeah, we
Is that
work.
possible?
I don't know
We
if
would
they
work
can-
with them for the Mills Act when that was reestablished. We would be working with them closely to get the contracts.
So with the Mills Act, we're in process now, so what's the next step, and when do you think we'll get it reinstated?
Do you want me to talk about this now or wait until the agenda?
Yeah, so we do have that on the agenda as a future agenda item, so we can discuss it a little bit more there as an update.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, let's wrap up the discussion of the priorities, and we really appreciate everyone's contribution on this, as it'll help Jessica and myself and the city team focus our work over the next year.
Another one would be, the Chamber of Commerce's, the one in Salinas and also the one downtown, to let them know about, Mills Act and also the historical designation to probably their buildings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other feedback or comments? Well, hopefully this is enough information that you can begin to come back, and at the end of the year, we'll say, yes, we've accomplished or made progress on what these items, or they'll be not unattended.
Thank you.
Do you want to ask public comment?
Yeah, is there any public comment about the priorities or the goal setting for HRB? Always forget to do that. Seeing none, we'll, one final call to the board if there's any comments.
I think with the plaque program, I think we should start also recognize the buildings that were restored according to the historical guidelines, like the 300 Main Street and so forth, you know, so it can be recognized that they have did a good job. Yeah.
I think some of the newer board members, I caught on to the tail end of some of these projects and asked the same question, and the El Rey Theater was actually gone through this process, and according to Bobby Latino, when at the last meeting, he says, yes, they're compliant with whatever the review was apparently done, so, you know, it may not look like to us, but it was in compliance with what was actually agreed upon historically. And I think, Sal, you were on that board then, right?
Yeah.
So that and 201 Main Street.
Okay.
Those sort of things. Okay, let's go on to the follow-up reports, future agenda items. Are there any follow-up reports in addition? Jessica, Brad?
No follow-up reports, just what we'll cover under future agenda items.
Okay, future agenda items, Mills Act update. And thank you, Eloise. This could be a part of that beginning process. So.
Yeah, so in terms of Mills Act, we are still working on it. We're looking at the financial aspect. We are trying to continuing to do more research, looking at doing more follow-up with the programs that I had done the research on for the last presentation. So again, looking at best practices and just kind of looking at our end user. We're looking at maybe some outreach or a survey to potential property owners that may be interested in the program. So we're trying to get an idea of interest, public interest in the program. So we're trying to complete all of that as we work with the city attorney and move forward with the recommendation. So it will come back to HRB, and then we'll make a recommendation and then take it to city council. But we're just doing some more the legwork on the back end of it so that we're ready to roll out the program.
According to the media, what I read is that with Carmel and is put theirs on hold for now, and one other city.
City of Monterey. Yeah.
Right. And it apparently was because of a tax, the tax loss revenue or something like that. So maybe that's something we need some background information as well when we begin this update.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think generally the board is in favor of the Mills Act, so and making it a permanent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other comments about the Mills update?
Yeah, I just wanted to know about, say, the details of the Mills Act in terms of, I noticed that in some of the Victorians that I've seen, that the upgrades on them, the windows are like, some have aluminum sash or vinyl or something like that. And I'm wondering, really, that's not really preserving those materials, isn't really preserving the historic character. And I'm wondering if we have something built into the rules and regulations or the do's and the don'ts of what you can do in the Mills Act when you're restoring them that would kind of keep people from being able to put, things that would detract from the historic value when they're building it. And also, I'm wondering, because I did attend some hearings at the Board of Supervisors about potential demolition of historic resources if there's some kind of consequences that are built into the rules and regs for people if they destroy historic resources here in Salinas, if there's something that would, deter them from that.
Yeah,
Do you know, I mean, I haven't read anything, there was a lot of stuff for us to read,
Right.
and I didn't read anything about that in detail, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the process, and that's if there would be a demolition permit that would be required, and they would trigger. So depending on what they're trying to do, I don't know if that would, when pulling a permit. If it was on a historic property, it would be triggered. But I don't know if a demolition permit is something that's required here.
Yes, I
It
mean,
is.
if somebody's doing
I don't know the
a remodel or something, they could be demolishing a historic resource and replacing it with something new.
Right. If they were coming in onto a building permit, they'd have to show their work. They'd have to show what was proposed to the project, and then that would be the chance that we would review it. I'd do the historic review, and then depending on the extent of the work, it would come to HRB. So they wouldn't just be able to demolish the structure. It'd have to go through the historic review.
Yeah.
That's why the red flagging is so important. And if any changes in windows, even roofing and siding, they should come in front of our group so we can review it and help the planning department and the clients maintain the historicity of their building.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments about Millsack? If not, we'll go on to the meeting procedures.
Yeah, that's just a reminder. That's on the agenda for the February, just a Brown Act refresher coming in February.
Yeah, so we're working with the city clerk's office to get the standard board and commission training, and we'll go over that. And it'll just be in the spirit of starting fresh in the new year, a little refresher on meeting procedures and Brown Act, et cetera.
Right, because I'm not sure if the board is aware of that, but how many hours are we supposed to have of education, continuing education? Like 1 hour or 2 hours a year? There is a requirement.
Yeah, I know beyond there was the ethics training at the end of last year, but beyond that, I'll have to look.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of your not a conflict of interest, but your statement of you certify that you've had this amount of training. So.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have those numbers, and we'll all be prepared for our exam next month.
Maybe we, as a committee or as a group, could have training, especially something about the historical buildings or the requirements to achieve a designated site to be as a historical resource. As an example, we could maybe invite Ken Seavey that could give us that guidelines. Because he's the one who wrote them, and it would be good for the board to hear from him so we are aware of it. And also some of the staff of the city of Salinas, especially the planning department, to hear that and why it's so important to review even any changes in especially the envelope of the historical building, anything on it, even the flashing, the windows, the doors, the roof, the siding, anything like that, because it will alter its historicity. Yeah.
And also, isn't there a federal list of regulations for historic buildings? I forgot what that, is that HUD?
It's national park.
No, the national parks.
National parks, yeah.
Yeah.
They have specifications about historic
Secretary of the National Parks.
historic preservation.
Yeah.
Secretary of Interior.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
hopefully if that gets organized, and if that should hopefully qualify for a training time. So
Yeah.
it would be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah.
Anything else to come before the meeting at this time? So I'm glad everybody figured out it was not going to be on January 1, it came on the 8th. But the next meeting is the first Monday of February, so.
Yes.
If there's no other business, meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.